Hi everyone. Today I want to do another 5-minute mystery with you, and I just love doing them because it's such a good exercise for your brain. And right in the morning I try to do one at least once every morning. So yeah, this one is called The Thief in the Night Mystery by Tom Fowler, and I think we've done one by Tom Fowler before. He's a good writer in this. And this one was published in 2010, as you can see. Wow, it's unbelievable. And 63% of people, as you can see here, have managed to solve this mystery. And the average time is taken to solve the mystery is 5 minutes and 29 seconds. But I tend to always take a bit longer than that. Reason being is not because I'm stupid, but it's because sometimes you miss things and you jump to the wrong conclusion instead of reading the sentences properly. And also while I'm recording, I'm talking through this with you. So yeah, and there's four clues in this. There's 4 clues that you can find in this, as it says here. So if you're marking more than 4 clues, then you know you're doing something wrong because there's only 4 clues in this. But yeah, let's read it now. Eleanor Hall will be 97 years old. Oh yeah, by the way, before I hit this orange button, attempt this mystery button, you can read it first to see whether you want to attempt it or not. You don't have to press the button before you read this. Only when you press the button does the timer start. Eleanor Hall would be 97 years old. Her body was failing, but with the assistance of her beloved grandson Nick and his wife Nance, she was able to live in the house she and her late husband Harry had purchased in 1946, shortly after the war ended. Eleanor pondered this one morning while sipping her morning coffee. Sadly, the neighborhood had deteriorated in the last few years. Not too long ago, it was maintained and the neighbors quiet and friendly. But in the last dozen years or so dozen is 12, isn't it? But in the last dozen years or so, Eleanor had seen the last of her old friends pass away and a new criminal element move in. Now, drug abuse and other crime, mostly thievery, had made the street she lived on unsafe. This was especially true for a 96-year-old widow, but Nick had been unable to convince her to move into a retirement center. Who's Nick, by the way? Oh yeah, grandson Nick and his wife Nance. Yeah. You know what? This story reminds me of my old house. Before I moved, we lived on this street and we got robbed and stuff, and there was so much crime there. So this story reminds me of that, unfortunately. But yeah, let's attempt this mystery, shall we? Let's attempt the mystery. That's it. The timer has started. Right. So no, she would reply forcefully whenever Nick and Nance broached the subject. This had been my home for 64 years and will be until the day I die. Sadly, her death was coming soon. Unknown to anyone beside herself and Dr. Murphy, she had terminal stomach cancer and only had a few weeks to live. The state of the neighborhood and her health were not the only things on her mind this morning. Last night, the same thief in the night who had stolen into her home several times in recent weeks struck again, this time taking a $20 bill Eleanor had left for him to find on the living room coffee table. Eleanor had heard her unwanted intruder and the digital alarm clock on her nightstand. Oh, hang on, who stole the £20? Last night, same thief. Oh, so the statement... Oh, the same thief in the night who had stolen into her home several times in recent week struck again, taking the $20 bill had left for him to find on the living room coffee table. Hang on, how do they know it's the same thief? Anyway, Eleanor had heard the unwanted intruder and the digital alarm clock on her nightstand told her it was 3:22 a.m. when he opened the unlocked front door a bit too noisily. Oh, that is so scary, man. This reminds me, something like this happened to me, yeah, just randomly. I'm sorry to interrupt the story. This kind of thing happened to me and it was so scary. Eleanor had her unwanted intruder, digital alarm. When he opened the unlocked front door a bit too noisily, the thief was not overly greedy and was careful not to disturb Eleanor, but she had studied him quietly more than once and noticed he was not a large man, but he did carry a knife and a gun. The thick-soled boots he wore made him appear taller than he was. She also noticed that he always wore a ski mask, so it was impossible to identify who the thief was, and that was the way things would stay. For Eleanor certainly did not plan on introducing herself to him in the wee hours of the morning when he would break into her home. Oh my gosh. It would not do for a terminally ill 96-year-old woman to challenge him. That is disgusting. That man is a coward. How can he challenge like someone with cancer who's 96? That's terrible. Come on. So Eleanor smiled to herself and chuckled bitterly. The thief, whoever he was, did not know whom he was dealing with. In her youth, Eleanor had traveled with a Depression-era gang of bank robbers. Her boyfriend had been killed in a shootout with J. Edgar Hoover's G-Men and had served several years in a federal prison. Eleanor knew no fear and was no stranger to violence, but luckily for this punk who kept robbing her, she was far past her physical prime. As far as she could tell, the robber was one of the 4 boys who lived nearby and whom she knew would be familiar with her house and personal habits. As she emptied her coffee cup, the contents of which did not sit well on her diseased stomach, Eleanor pondered the 4 boys seriously for the first time. Todd Summers was the most violent and dangerous of the 4. Todd had been in prison for armed robbery and assault. He was out on parole and was considered by the local police to be very dangerous, but Todd, as Eleanor knew in her youth, knew no fear and enjoyed confrontation. John Shaw was dangerous only because he was feeble-minded and stupid. John looked up to the other tough guys in the neighborhood and became their lackey. John was neither bright nor mean enough to commit serious crime, but he had been in and out of local jails various times for minor offenses. Eleanor's friend on the police force, Sergeant Rick Daniel, often laughed and commented that the Shaw kid gets into trouble when he's with his pals. He's not smart enough to get into trouble on his own. So now, yeah, we know that this is not our thief. John Shaw is not our thief. Yes, he's not exonerates. Yes, John Shaw, I've exonerated him. Next, Eleanor considered Max Rink. She frowned as she considered what Max had given up. Max was well over 6 feet in height, the star basketball player on the local high school team, and was headed to the State University on scholarship before he started getting into trouble. The word from her friend, Sergeant Daniel, was that his problem began when he developed a fondness for alcohol. So this is not our thief either, is he? Because he's 6 feet tall, and we know that our thief is quite a short person. So yeah, let's exonerate Max Rick. Oops, did I exonerate properly? Exonerate Max Rick, yeah. Last on Eleanor's suspect list was Zach Coulson. Eleanor knew Zach's mother and was aware of how broken-hearted she was on her son becoming a thug and overall never do well. Zach was very rude to all who knew him and a bully to boot. He was always picking on younger, smaller boys and teasing little girls. Eleanor smiled as she remembered the day Marty Clayton caught up with him in her front yard. Marty's sister had come running home in tears, claiming it was Zach who had tormented her. Marty found him and bloodied his nose. Like most bullies, Zach could not take what he could dish out to persons weaker than himself. He screamed and ran away from Marty before more blows were delivered. The feisty Eleanor had invited Marty in for a cool drink, and they had been friends ever since. Eleanor lit a cigarette. It won't kill me, she thought. Stomach cancer is taking care of that. But after thinking this through, I think I know who my robber is. I'll be ready for him next time and I'll know for sure. Grimly, Tito, I have nothing to lose. If he hurts me, I'm not long for this world anyway. I've almost had 97 full years. Oh, that's sad. Come on, that's not fair. The strong-willed Eleanor was determined not to die before the thief and the night was dealt with. Eleanor had to wait a couple of weeks, but the thief finally returned, entering as usual through the unlocked door. Eleanor, whose clock read 2:50 a.m. when she heard the soft sounds of the familiar intruder, was ready for him as she stooped to take the now usual $20 from the living room coffee table. Eleanor thought bitterly of the tacit arrangement she had made with this two-bit amateurhood. What does that mean? She stepped into the room and aimed a pistol into his masked, startled face. Taking care not to get too close, she said evenly, "I'm tired of paying you not to hurt me. This ends tonight." The thief was shocked and scared. The thief raised his hands and said pleadingly, "Don't shoot me." Eleanor had taken a suspicion regarding the thief's identity. Even she said, "Take off your mask. I want to see you before Sergeant Daniel arrives, which should be shortly," as I speed-dialed him before leaving my bedroom. The thief removed his mask. Eleanor was still being very careful with her startled, unwanted guest, said simply, "I thought so." It was barely 2 minutes before Sergeant Daniel arrived, was standing in the living room of Eleanor's home as he handcuffed the thief, and he asked Eleanor if she was okay. "Oh, for heaven's sake, yes," was her reply. Rick Daniel chuckled. He was aware of the elderly friend's past. He asked her, "How did you know who he was before he took his mask off?" I was pretty certain. So yeah, who was this thief? Who was this thief, right? So it wasn't Max or John. It wasn't Max or John. We know that. I think I've made a mistake. Maybe it is John because Todd. See, Todd Summers was the most dangerous and violent of the four, and this guy clearly wasn't violent. Like, because if it was anyone else, they would have. The woman's pointing a gun. They would have like knocked her out. So, maybe this. And this guy clearly didn't enjoy confrontation, so maybe this exonerates Todd Summers. I think this was. Yeah, that exonerates Todd Summers, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm unmarking that. I said that that incriminates him. I just said that sentence right there. John was bright, neither bright nor mean. That incriminates him. Yeah, and these two are exonerated. Max Rink, he's too tall. Zach Coulson. Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be Zach as well. I think it could be Zach, to be honest, because he reacted, see, when he was confronted by this old lady, he reacted in a similar way to Marty, basically. He was scared of Marty, and he was scared of this old lady after bullying them. So, I think it could be Zach. And also, it's worth noting that Eleanor seemed to know this person after he was arrested. She seemed to know him. So that kind of familiarity might be because um, she knew Marty and she'd speak to Marty about this Zach Coulson. So I think the person could be Zach Coulson. Yeah, I don't think it is John. I think it's Zach, to be honest with you. I'm going to unmark that sentence, and I think that this exonerates, who's this guy? John Shaw, yeah. I think that exonerates him. I think it is Zach Coulson. But what's the clue that incriminates him, hey? Right. I thought so. She said I thought so. His reaction is quite similar. Look, he was pleading, don't shoot me. He pleaded with Marty, like, look, where is that? Where is it? Yes. Look at that. He screamed and ran away. He reacted very similar to this, but I don't want to mark anything because I can't see what incriminates him. So I am going to say that the suspect is Zach Coulson. Okay, I'm going to solve it. Yay! I got it right. Hooray! I did it. I got it right. Oh, yes. He's not smart enough to get into trouble. I said that was. Oh, that was incorrect. Okay, Max. My opinion was that this was fun. I would give this an overall rating of about 5. There, I rated that. And I got 13 points for this. And I got it right. Let's read the full solution, shall we? Not so hard, really. It's for neighborhood boys. Tottenham is a bad one. I doubt seriously he would take such pains to come and go and not disturb me. Um, no, if it was Todd, because he would go out of his way to cause fear and pain. Not go out of his way to avoid it as this guy did. I knew it wasn't John Shaw either because John would not be smart or daring enough to systematically rob the same house over and over again. You yourself said he's not smart enough to get into trouble on his own, and I'm sure. Hang on, why is it wrong then? Why is my um? Look at that. They said that was my thing was wrong. So yes, seriously. So yes, guys, we got another one right, another mystery right, and I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I hope that you tried this website as well because it's really